The girl's fingers clutched her brother's sleeve as the winter wind howled through the broken walls of their village. Snow drifted through shattered windows, settling on the ashes of what used to be their home. Their mother's voice still echoed in Anna's mind. Stay together, always. But that voice had faded months ago, somewhere between the sirens and the screams. Now only the two of them remained, Anna, 12, and Lucas, 9. When footsteps crunched through the snow behind them, they froze. American boots. It was the winter of 1946. The war had ended, but Germany had not healed. The cities were skeletons. Roads were rivers of rubble. Children roamed like ghosts, searching for food in the ruins. The Allies had won the war, but what remained was a land full of orphans and broken hearts. Anna and Lucas were two of thousands who had nowhere to go. Their father had been conscripted in 1944, last seen on the Eastern Front. Their mother was killed when Dresden burned. Since then, they'd lived on scraps, hiding from soldiers and thieves alike. Anna carried her brother through it all, telling him stories about the world before bombs and of trees, warm bread, and laughter. When the Americans arrived, the children hid. Every shadow looked like danger. Every uniform meant death. Until the day a patrol found them in an abandoned farmhouse, starving, trembling, and clutching a single photograph of their mother. The man who found them was Sergeant Jack Turner, a 30-year-old soldier from Ohio who had seen enough death to last a lifetime. He should have turned them over to the refugee camp. But something in there. Sergeant Turner crouched beside the children, his breath visible in the freezing air. "What are your names?" he asked softly. Anna didn't answer. She just stared at his insignia, the symbol of the enemy who'd taken everything from her. Lucas whimpered behind her, clutching her coat. Turner placed his rifle aside, raised his hands, and said, "It's okay. I won't hurt you." But Anna didn't believe him. How could she? Her father had said Americans bombed churches, killed mothers, and smiled while doing it. She hated that his voice trembled with kindness, because it made her confusion hurt more. Turner handed her a piece of chocolate. She didn't move. Lucas, too hungry to resist, reached out and grabbed it. He bit into it, eyes widening as sugar melted on his tongue for the first time in years. Turner smiled faintly. "See? Not poison." That night he returned with bread and blankets. The girl didn't thank him. She sat near the dying fire, holding her brother close, watching the soldier like a hawk. Turner didn't sleep. He sat against the wall, staring at the two small figures, wondering how children could survive in such silence. When dawn came, he told his men they'd take the kids to the nearest camp. But when they reached the road, Lucas began to cry, begging not to be separated from his sister. And for the first time, Turner realized the war wasn't over. Not for these children. It lived in their fear, their eyes, their distrust. So he made a choice. Against orders, he brought them with his unit instead. His men protested. "They're Kraut kids, Sarge." But Turner just said, "They're kids, that's all." The American camp was a strange world. Rows of tents, laughter, and men who sang songs in a language Anna didn't understand. She stayed silent, gripping Lucas's hand. Every loud noise made her flinch. The soldiers tried to talk to her, but she turned away, eyes cold as stone. Lucas was different. The chocolate had softened him. He followed Turner everywhere, watching with shy curiosity. One evening, Turner caught Anna sneaking food into her coat. Instead of scolding her, he simply said, "You don't have to steal anymore." She spat back, "You took everything." "Why would I ask from you?" Turner froze. There it was, her truth sharp and raw. He didn't argue. He just nodded. "Maybe you're right," he said quietly. "But I can still help." That night, Anna watched him from a distance as he played cards with his men. He laughed, but it wasn't cruel. It was human. And that unsettled her more than any weapon could. Days turned into weeks. Lucas began to learn English. Small words. Bread. Thank you. Home. Turner taught him to throw a baseball using a rolled-up sock. Each throw broke another brick from the wall Anna had built around her heart. She hated him for that kindness, because it reminded her of her father. Winter softened into spring, but for Anna the cold never really left. Even when the sun began to shine over the camp, she still wrapped herself in that same gray coat, the one that smelled like ashes and fear. Turner kept trying, leaving food by her tent, Small books with pictures, once even a doll someone had sent from home. She never touched them. But Lucas did. Slowly, laughter began to return to his voice. Quiet at first, like something fragile that might break if it grew too loud. One afternoon, Turner found Lucas sitting by the river, throwing pebbles into the water. Anna stood nearby, arms folded. Turner sat beside the boy and handed him an apple. Lucas smiled shyly, then offered half to his sister. She stared at it for a moment, then took it. For the first time, Turner saw a trace of softness in her face. Not trust, not yet, but something like exhaustion. He asked her gently, "Do you know what day it is?" She shook her head. "Easter," he said. "Back home, my mother used to bake bread shaped like birds." Anna frowned, confused. "Birds?" "Yeah," he smiled. "Because even after the hardest winter, they always come back." That night, Anna dreamed of her old home, her mother kneading dough, her father humming a lullaby. She woke up crying quietly, not because of the memories, but because for the first time they didn't hurt as much. By summer, the camp began to change. Children like Anna and Lucas weren't just fed, they were seen. Turner and other soldiers built makeshift classrooms. Anna started to read simple English words. She never smiled when Turner praised her, but he noticed the way she clutched the books afterward like treasure. Still, there were moments when the war came back, like ghosts that refused to leave. Once, when a truck backfired, she screamed and dropped to the ground, covering her brother. Turner rushed to her side, whispering, "It's okay, it's not gunfire." But she couldn't stop shaking. When it was over, she looked up at him with tears and whispered, "Why did you come here? Why did you destroy everything?" Turner had no answer. He just said softly, "Because sometimes we do terrible things thinking they'll stop worse ones. But no one wins in the end." Anna turned away. "Then why are you helping us now?" "Because," he said, "someone has to start fixing what we broke." Months passed. The children became part of the camp, almost like ghosts who'd found a home among strangers. Turner received new orders. His unit would be leaving soon. The war was long over. Reconstruction was beginning. But where would Anna and Lucas go? Germany was still in chaos. Orphanages overflowed, and families were rare as miracles. One evening, Turner found the siblings sitting by the edge of the camp, watching the sunset. Lucas leaned against his sister, half asleep. Turner sat beside them. "You two remind me of my kids," he said quietly. Anna blinked. "You have children?" He nodded. "2 girls. They're about your age." There was a silence. Anna finally asked, "Do they know what you did here?" He smiled faintly. "Not yet, but someday I'll tell them." Before he left, Turner brought them clothes, food, and a letter with his address in Ohio. "If you ever need me," he said, "you write to this place." Anna took the paper but didn't reply. She only said, "We won't need you." A week later, Turner's truck drove away. Lucas ran after it until the dust swallowed him. Anna stood still, eyes dry, fists clenched. She told herself it was better this way, less to lose. But that night, when Lucas whispered, "He's gone," Anna turned her face to the wall and cried silently until dawn. The months that followed were cruel. Supplies ran out. The camp was dismantled. The children were sent to a crowded orphanage in Munich. Dark halls, cold beds, and endless hunger. Anna fought to protect Lucas from bullies, from despair, from the world. But one morning, when she saw a boy her brother's age beaten for stealing bread, something inside her broke. That night, she pulled the letter from her coat, crumpled, dirty, but still readable. Turner's handwriting was still there, steady and clear. She whispered, "You said we could write." And for the first time in her life, she prayed that promises weren't just lies. In a small town in Ohio, Jack Turner sat at his kitchen table reading the morning mail. Bills, newspapers, and then one thin, battered envelope, edges torn, written in shaky handwriting. The return address said Munich. He opened it carefully. Inside was a short note written by Anna, with a few English words and many crossed-out attempts. It said simply, "Lucas is sick. No food, please." Turner stared at the paper, his hands trembling. The war was over, but for them it hadn't ended. He showed the letter to his wife, Mary. She read it silently, then looked at him with tearful eyes. "You can't just send food," she said. "They need a home." Within a week, Turner was on a ship back to Europe. The orphanage officials were shocked when an American soldier, now a civilian, appeared at their door asking for 2 German children. "They're the enemy," one man muttered. Turner replied, "They're kids." When Anna saw him standing in that doorway again, she thought she was dreaming. She didn't run to him. She didn't cry. She just whispered, "You came back." Turner smiled. "I told you to write if you needed me." Lucas was thin, feverish, but when Turner lifted him into his arms, the boy clung to his neck as if he'd never let go again. The papers, the permissions, the rules. Turner fought through them all. For weeks he visited offices, signed forms, begged officials. Everyone told him the same thing. It's impossible. Germans can't be adopted by Americans, but Turner didn't give up. "Then I'll stay until they can," he said. After 6 months of battles with bureaucracy, one gray morning in 1947, the impossible happened. 2 children, once orphans of a shattered Germany, were allowed to travel under the protection of a U.S. soldier and his family. The day they left, Anna stood on the dock holding Lucas's hand, the sea wind whipping her hair. Turner knelt beside them. "You ready?" he asked. Lucas nodded eagerly, clutching a small toy boat Turner had carved for him. Anna hesitated. "What if they don't want us?" Turner smiled softly. "They already do." The ship's horn echoed across the harbor as they boarded. Anna turned to look at the city fading behind her, a graveyard of memories. She didn't cry. She whispered instead, "We'll start again." The journey was long. Lucas spent most of it staring at the ocean, asking if America smelled different. Turner laughed. Anna, at first silent, began to ask questions about his daughters, his home, his country. Turner answered patiently, each word like a bridge between 2 worlds once divided by hate. When they reached New York, reporters crowded the docks. Photographers shouted questions. "Are these war orphans? Why did you bring them?" Turner just said, "Because peace starts one child at a time." At his home in Ohio, Mary met them at the door. She hugged Anna gently and said, "Welcome home." For the first time since the war began, Anna let herself believe it. Years rolled on. Lucas grew into a bright, curious boy who loved baseball and drawing. Anna, quiet but determined, learned English, finished school, and dreamed of becoming a nurse. The Turners never called them refugees. They called them family, but the past never vanished entirely. Some neighbors whispered, "Those are the German kids," and once Anna overheard someone call them the enemy's children. She cried that night, afraid she'd never belong. Turner sat beside her, took her hand, and said, "You're not the enemy's child, Anna, you're ours. And that's what matters." When Lucas turned 18, he joined the U.S. Army, not to fight, but to serve in peacekeeping missions overseas. "I want to be like you," he told Turner, "someone who helps, not hurts." Decades later, Anna became a nurse in the same hospital where Turner was admitted after a heart attack. She cared for him every day, holding his hand as he grew weak. On his last night, he whispered, "You saved me too, you know." Anna smiled through tears. "No, you saved us." When he passed, the entire town came to his funeral. On his headstone, Anna and Lucas had engraved the words he'd once told them. "Peace begins when someone chooses mercy." Many years later, Anna returned to Germany for the first time. The ruins were gone, replaced by cities alive again. She walked through Dresden, where her mother had died, and laid flowers at the riverbank. Lucas joined her, now with children of his own, American citizens with German eyes. As they stood there, Anna whispered, "We hated them once, but one of them showed us what love meant." History books would never tell their story, but somewhere across the ocean in a small cemetery in Ohio, the grave of an American soldier carried the legacy of that choice, a story of mercy that turned enemies into family, and hate into hope. Because sometimes peace doesn't come from treaties or victories. It comes from one man refusing to walk away, and 2 children brave enough to follow him home.